This is going to be your guide to Boost Emblems in Pokemon Unite. Now, the thing about Boost Emblems is a lot of the information is straightforward, but for this guide, I just want to kind of talk and ramble about the system for a little bit of time. So if you enjoy that, don't forget to leave a like, share with your friends, comment your thoughts down below, especially if the video helps out. So, how do you get the Boost Emblems? The game tells you you do it through the energy rewards. So instead of the fashion items for the 999 plus tickets you have, you can now spend it on Boost Emblems, which give you in-game stat bonuses. Well, it's like a power neutral thing, but then a little bit of bonus on top. Really, the biggest thing I have to say about this is remember to use your extra energy tanks. I have 11,000 extra energy because I was getting them through the events and stuff, but I didn't know how to activate them because I took a couple month break from the game and I forgot, like, how to use them because I don't buy these things. I don't spend money on, like, the little extras in the game. So that's something to take into consideration. Just remember to, like, use your boost tanks since now the energy really matters. And if you've actually been, like, saving it because the rewards didn't really matter, you're going to be having a good time. You exchange 30 per day. That's interesting. I just mostly want to show consideration for everything about the feature since it is a really cool system. So yeah, with gems, you can buy the boost tanks or you can get the extra energy tanks. Be careful on how you use the extra energy tanks because you do get the energy reset every week. So make sure you can deplete the energy before activating it. You can use the energy tanks from your item box. And that's just kind of like the very basic stuff out of the way, but again, the considerations to make sure you are getting the most out of the feature and not just forgetting stupid things like I have. So, let's go and check out what is going on with the Boost Emblem. So if we go over here, we can actually get the details on the colors, and this is mostly what you're going for. You want to get matching types, that way you can get the boost, those boosts then play into your character, and you can make up to 3 Boost Emblems. I think that's what they're called, or the thing. Loadouts. You get 3 loadouts. See, we're all human. So we can go here, check the details of all the colors. Green is going to be special attack. Yellow is going to be movement speed out of combat, so that's going to be a pretty much useless one. The thing is, we haven't ever seen, like, Floatstone take off or Leftovers take off because combat timer is so long. Like, 8 seconds of a 10-minute game. Kind of crazy on that. I don't know if yellow is going to combo into Floatstone and lead to some like crazy cross mapping or something, or if the timer is still too long. Red, basic attack speed. This is also where I kind of ramble about the runes and just my ideas on them, optimizing them, considerations and whatnot, because attack speed's a weird stat. Like, it recently came out, like, the chart that most Pokemon don't even experience Muscle Band's effectiveness because the game ticks are too short to actually have, like it just doesn't matter. Like, you are not getting any stats because your attack speed is not high enough to register the percentage. So, I don't know what the math becomes on a plus 2% added with Muscle Band on certain Pokemon at certain levels. Does this make the break points? Is 8% with the Muscle Band actually super cracked and giving you, like, crazy extra autos? We don't know that yet, so it's going to take a while. Something to keep an eye on. 8% defense on blue, straightforward. But there is also the consideration that defense is effectively worthless stats in this game. Like, if you see anything that's minus defense plus hit points, I'm pretty sure it's always health positive. Like, you get more effective health by just using, like, by just getting health over defenses. Because rule of thumb, 10 defense, 10 special defense is going to be 1% more durability, but that's also against that type. So, even if you have 10 defense on a 4,000 hit point Pokemon, just 40 flat hit points is going to be better because that's also going to apply to special attacks. And generally, we're going to be seeing like plus 30 hit points, minus 5 or minus 3 defense or something. So you just kind of want to take those because you're always coming out on top. And it does kind of change. Like, you get closer to 1.5% on frail Pokemon, and then you get diminishing returns on already naturally tanky Pokemon. But overall, yeah, it doesn't really give you too much. Now, this flat hit points, or like the percent hit points, that's also pretty good. Pokemon have very inflated hit point pools. Going into black, cooldown reduction. 8% cooldown reduction. This is a stat that's hard to find, and really the big optimization out of runes, or I might call them runes, but emblems, is that this is really one of the only other places you can find crit, attack speed, or cooldown reduction. Crit cooldown reduction being the very favored stats. Also movement speed. Movement speed in the game, another weird stat that you're going to hear me ramble about in a bit, but 8% cooldown reduction. This hasn't been fully explored. If you're maining a Pokemon and you've got some like cooldown reduction shenanigans going on with like Energy Amp and Shell Bell, what this means is you don't have to run those items for their other like weakening stats, because Shell Bell generally underperforms compared to like every other special attacking item, and you're just grabbing it for the cooldown reduction. So if you can actually find higher amounts of cooldown reduction through the emblem system, you're just going to be running away with that and not restricted to Shell Bell, unless your Pokemon wants to have 12.5% cooldown reduction. One thing I've theory crafted, and I haven't looked exactly into how it plays out with the emblem system, but if you go Energy Amp, Shell Bell, Dragonite, I know, sounds terrible, but then you get any extra cooldown reduction, you can actually spam Dragon Dance and not need to auto attack anything to fully stack a Hyper Beam and just have it ready to launch at the beginning of a fight, potentially. So we got to kind of see where that goes. Brown is going to be +% attack. Again, pretty significant boost to attack, considering like some items, you know, it's like, oh man, I get the attacking item of a Razor Claw, +15 attack. Or attack weight starts you off kind of low, gives you a decent amount per score, but it's also not guaranteed to fully stack it. And Pokemon end up with hundreds of attack even at middling stages of the game. So yeah, you can actually maybe break this down in certain breakpoints per Pokemon and other stuff like that, but alright. Level 9, that's when Pokemon get Unites. Level 7, that's like the pre-Dreadnought skirmishing and stuff. Something like a Zeraora, which can also stack through its passive. 300 attack, 4% of that, that's 12. And then also depending on like passive and other things. So you're effectively getting an extra item of stats. Now, it does, like early on in the game, not really matter as much. But again, some Pokemon still having some interesting stats. Lucario, effectively offsetting nerfs with like the 4% attack and maybe some other things. Also, if you just get whatever amount of attack is possible through like silver or gold emblems, and then you're just starting off and you're multiplying off of that, has some good and interesting potential right there. We got special defense, doesn't matter. Pink, fairy typing, hindrance effect reduction, tenacity. Is it worth the stats? Because also the emblems have flat stat packages, and that kind of has some conflicting things. Like there was a Graveler one that is -0.6 crit, but you need the ground for the +4% attack. Some ugly interactions. I don't know how like the fairy goes in, or like what the 16% hindrance effect duration actually matters or means. There is some chunky CC in the game, so knocking off half a second of cooldown reduction means, or not cooldown reduction, half a second of crowd control. Maybe that's actually going to be pretty good for running X speed over full heal. Maybe that opens up some opportunities. Maybe it's actually just useless and everyone's going to be prioritizing. Plus special attack seems to have pretty good synergy. Cooldown reduction, attack speed, and then just natural emblems that just give crit. So we can look at what I have for a special attacker right now. It's day 2. I've cracked like 40-something emblems, so it's going to be a bit of a struggle for a bit, but after like a month of playing, especially like the free stuff that's been going on in the game, and even longer down the road, you're going to be able to make some pretty spicy rune pages. So we have here current effects, bonus hit points, attack, plus 4.5 special attack. That's another thing, like finding special attack and stats kind of crazy. Maybe Wise Glasses versus Score Specs gets a little bit more interesting with the bonus special attack that you can get off of the green. And yeah, so movement speed, another stat to talk about. Just kind of get some kind of effects going on, but some synergies are there. Like, I don't need crit as a special attacker. I'll just take the stats. Here's what I have for Garchomp at this time. So, Persian, really good. This one has the stats. -4 defense, plus 0.8% critical hit rate, and I got 2 silvers. The bronze is going to be plus 0.6, and then I'm guessing gold is going to be like 1% crit, so you can get 10% through that. Also, there is a note to make, but you would quickly discover this on your own, that say if I put 2 Persians here, it only counts for 1 of the type. So you can't just take 10 busted ones and then actually get the full effect. You have to take some of the good with the bad, and then try to like figure out, like, do I want to hit that 4 breakpoint? Do I want to go for all 6? How do I mix and match it to get exactly what I'm looking for? So finding a little bit of attack speed, finding the bonus health, but because Garchomp's health, which we could actually kind of just check out for ourselves over here, So, I mean, like, at what point in the game does thing do what? So, 3,200, 4% hit points, that's going to be 120, so we are coming out health positive even with the minus 60 hit points, and then plus 2 attacks, pretty cool, minus special attack, don't need that, so we're just grabbing all of these stats. Maybe the attack speed matters because Gible does get stacking attack speed into muscle band and stuff, and then critical hit rate, or maybe it gets to the point where if you hit the certain breakpoints here, then you don't need the muscle band to stack as fast on Gible. That opens up some other really good item options, and then things kind of get crazy from there. Going through the emblem decks, don't have everything unlocked. It's still kind of early on. I guess more robust guides and stuff will be coming out on that. And in that case, you don't need this video. You don't need me to have a video going through saying, Jigglypuff emblem, plus 40 hit points, minus 4 special defense. Consider this on blank. Wigglytuff, plus 30 hit points, minus 21 movement speed. So, like, yeah, we don't need that for the guide, but when that resource comes out, then you can find it. Don't know if Unite DB is working on that. Don't know if Unite API is working on that. Don't know which random gaming aid website will pop that out, but look it up and eventually it'll happen, and then you can start theory crafting it for yourself. But also, as you get more emblems, it's just really nice to have, like, the tactile in-game look at it, see what happens. And like I was saying, some of this does have, like, anti-synergy that's a little ugly. Like, I don't want plus 3 defense, minus 0.6 critical rate on my attacker Pokemon so I can get brown for the attack. Like, that doesn't help anyone. So, we're going to see, like, how some of these other ones interact and what that means. Also, Victory Bell, kind of a weird one, because black is cooldown reduction, green is plus special attack, and this gives plus attack. Now, you are going to be using autos at pretty much all stages, so maybe that does something. That also kind of, like, gives some life to the rune system, and there's, like, the slightest, smallest, insignificant pay-to-win aspect of this, of getting, like, the boost tanks, but through the events and stuff, you just get tons of, like, free ones anyways. As you can see, I have 12,000, so that's going to take a long time to chew through, and you can only do 30 per day, and some people have, like, been completely free players. I've just been saving the energy, and they still have, like, hundreds to go through. So the system's kind of weird, but I think it's going to balance out. Just play the game, just kind of optimize that. And I think it's going to get interesting where it's like, well, I have to take some bad effects, I have to take some bad drawbacks to then get some of the more positive things I'm looking for, which does make this a more power-neutral system instead of, oh man, that guy rolled, like, all really good ones, and now he's just objectively, unwinnably better than me. Nah, the system isn't quite there, at least. It's going to be interesting to see how the system ends up playing out, that if, like, every Pokemon has, like, a best, only run this, always loadout, and if you can't, then run something very as similar as possible to this. Or it'd be really funny if, like, everything just ends up going full black loadout for cooldown reduction because it just ends up being great, or some kind of other weird interaction. Maybe also these, like, little bonus effects don't really matter because, yo, how nutty would it be if you just ran the Persian? Like, 10 Persians, go for it. Or other crit Pokemon and their drawbacks and stuff. Actually, I have a tool for this. Now, it is a private effective health calculator that Atroske made, and I don't think anyone else has, like, made and recreated this for, like, their website about Pokemon Unite, which is kind of unfortunate. The damage formula is pretty easy and straightforward. So, yeah, we can actually compare the Garchomp, say if we just ran the minus 40 defense, and what that ends up meaning. So, our effective health at level 3, for, like, even the early skirmish, is going to be 3,500 physical damage. Now, this doesn't stop us against special attacks. We're going to be taking these, like, we're just going to be the same against, like, a Pikachu or something. But, we are 200 effective physical health down. But then we're getting 10% crit, so that's insane. Also, the same considerations for Absol and stuff, and that's when we have to, like, go back into the, just the stats for the Pokemon. After putting in Absol stats at level 3, which actually kind of doesn't count because it should be in the jungle, and then it's going to be ganking, and it's going to have level 5 stats or something, we can see that, like, the minus 40 defense is effectively 200 less effective health in the earliest stages of the game. And then this is what we have at level 7, so depending on the character, depending on the levels and stuff, about 6.5% less physical durability only for plus 10 crit. And then maybe you could do some weird things to where you can offset some of that by getting health in. You run 9 Persian and then something else that's normal that gives crit. I don't know if that's Meowth exactly. So what is Meowth? Critical hit rate minus defense. So it's effectively just the same thing. Like Persian and Meowth will give you a little bit of bonus health to offset for the defenses you're losing, and then you can just kind of dual stack it as a white, and there could be some other really interesting and neat little things to break down like that. And I did promise talking about movement speed. So there's a lot of stuff that's minus movement speed that just kind of has like its own weird effects. Like +4 defense, minus movement speed. Okay, that's something you never run unless you really want the blue or the purple effect. But then there's Wigglytuff, plus 30 hit points, minus 21 movement speed, and that's just on Bronze, so I'm guessing goes like 30, 40, 50. Plus 50 hit points, pretty significant. Maybe it's 35, 40, I don't know. We don't know everything exactly just yet, even though someone's probably gonna be like, well, I have a silver Wigglytuff, or I saw it on this website, and it's this. Whatever, again, you can find the resources when like it starts getting a bit more popularized, because there's a lot of stuff here, and it's not all initially made available. So depending on the movement speed cut, also kind of interesting. And what makes movement speed so wacky is that in MOBAs, it's considered the best stat in the game. Highest level players in League of Legends, top tier analysts, they will say that movement speed is the best stat. So it gets really weird when the movement units in Pokemon Unite start at around 3600, and they also have like their own weird values and scaling and stuff like that. And then you're gaining or losing 21. So it's not like, oh, you want to pick up this item or boots because it gives you so much more % movement speed. But it can matter, maybe, where it's like, okay, say you got just a middling 3700 Pokemon, minus 21, that is less than a %. Will it actually make it to where like that one auto you just miss because the timing isn't there? Is the enemy just not in the range of your ability anymore, or do you get like caught out and run down off of less than 1% movement speed? Also, like, do the game ticks matter and make movement speed more or less of a valuable stat? So it is like a good rule of thumb to not lose movement speed, and maybe there is like going to be some weird movement speed stacking stuff to where, hey, if you get plus movement speed on the runes, the emblems, then like now you're actually just like running circles around people and catching up and locking them down and doing things that weren't possible before. Or is the stat opportunity cost just not there? Now it is weird because the items that give movement speed generally not really considered in Pokemon Unite. But that's also because the other items like are just really good and have their own benefits, like Floatstone, plus 120 speed, and the movement speed out of combat, 7 seconds. I said 8 seconds earlier, whatever. Is a thing. So like if you get 5 of these and that puts you on par with the Floatstone, is that what Pokemon want? Is it noticeable even on the in-combat movement speed of a Floatstone? But if that was like such a valuable stat, the raw plus 24 attack, well, that beats out anything else, because if we're talking about the muscle band, that's 15, ignoring the passive, Razor Claw 15, attack weight 18, and then the one stack then starts making it pretty crazy. But no one's running Floatstone for the high raw attack that it gives, and then the 120 base speed on what theoretically, possibly, is the best stat in the game. Same thing on something like the experience share. Even though it gives like the 240 health and the 150 speed, and a passive that gives you experience, it doesn't seem to be that great of a pick on supports, and a lot of time it just is kind of seen as the worst item. So the best stat is on 2 of the worst items, and it doesn't salvage those items. I don't know what that... Is it going to be the same case for emblems, or does emblems enable the speed-based Pokemon Unite gameplay? And do the emblems become so useful that Floatstone actually becomes viable? Like, that would be wild if, like, because of the combat shenanigans, but if you end up with 32% out of combat movement speed, plus another, like, 100 speed, and then all of that multiplicative value just doesn't matter for those 7 seconds because you can catch up to a significant amount of that distance, game gets a bit more spicy and interesting. Now, the problem is, like, backdooring generally doesn't do much in Pokemon Unite because the second goal is so fat. After 5 minutes, like, you're just going to get stopped almost every time. Second goal is an int, unless, like, there's just a crazy team fight outside the goal and you can, like, quickly score. So because of the jump pad and because of how strong second goal is, backdooring has never really been a successful or viable strategy. And if you're abandoning your team cross map, that's just costing the game, because that's giving up Rotom, Dreadnought, or a crucial fight, and then things get a little too wacky. I think this could actually enable like some toxic play, where people are like, oh, I'm gonna run Floatstone, Goal Getter, Score Shield, and that's just complete end. That's just like the worst strategy possible in Pokemon Unite. So that's my rambling. Again, just kind of like showing you guys the basics, how it works, what the stats are, what some of the implications are. But after that, it's really like, yeah, roll the Pogs, maybe get some good ones, maybe upgrade them, and then run what you feel like you need to run to optimize your Pokemon. And there might be more development on like just the absolute best. Like, okay, very least aim for as much of this color as you can afford, and then some of the more specific smaller stats don't matter. Who knows where that's going to end up, but yeah, just want to get you guys familiar with it. New feature, seems a little overwhelming, actually kind of simple once you break it down, and it's going to be pretty cool to see how this changes Pokemon Unite and playstyles. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.